Welcome to the Focus and Chill podcast, where we discuss productivity tactics that work for neurodivergent individuals.
Every episode, we interview guests with lived experience of neurodiversity who also have a solid productivity and habit game, and pass the learnings on to you, our wise and benevolent audience.
We're your hosts, Jeremy and Joey.
I'm Joey, and I coach creatives to get moving on their most ambitious projects through the power of solid habits and strong focus. I'm also a perpetual student of psychology and perpetually on a quest to a one-armed chin-up.
And I'm Jeremy, a neurospicy software developer turned startup founder, building the Focus Bear app to help people with ADHD and autism thrive at work. My cool party trick is leaving parties early so I can get to sleep in time for my 2-hour-long morning routine. The Focus and Chill podcast is brought to you by Focus Bear, a focus enhancement app for ADHDers. That's adults with both combined autism and ADHD. I'm Jeremy, I'm an ADHDer myself. I'm the founder of Focus Bear and also one of the hosts of this podcast. I built Focus Bear for myself originally because I was constantly getting distracted by my phone and my laptop. I wanted a way to tame my ADHD monkey mind so I'd stop going down rabbit holes and actually get work done, but also get off my computer and my phone in the evening so I'd be able to sleep properly. It's working perfectly for me and it's helping a lot of ADHDs as well. I'd love for you to try it. It's available for Mac, Windows, iOS and Android, and it leverages most of the productivity strategies we talk about on the podcast. You can jump onto focusbear.io or just Google Focus Bear and try it out. Let me know what you think. Welcome to episode 92 of the Focus and Chill podcast. We're back today with Jacob Kness. Jacob is a social entrepreneur, voice, project manager, thinker, and founder in the autism employment space. Jacob applies holistic thinking to support those he serves and does this via his lived experience and self-introspection as to what he wishes he had as support growing up. We had Jacob on about 11 episodes ago, and I so enjoyed the conversation that I wanted to talk further about a few of the things that we touched on in the first episode, especially around exercise, because we were talking about cold shock therapy and how you go to the gym nearly every day. And I was keen to start off with that in terms of what your fitness regime looks like and what parts you've built up over time, what it looks like now.
Yeah, cool. When I think of my regime, I'm not as rigid as most might believe. I've gone through stages. I've done some more of the bodybuilding type stuff. I've done a little bit of everything, but now I just make sure I'm sort of consistent. More so it's about listening to my body. And, for a long time, it was about getting fit, getting more confident, more attractive and all those things. But, the more I came to learn about my neurodiversity and understanding how that affects my body's biomechanics and those sort of things, for quite a few years now, I've been focused on, sort of more the nervous system type of thing, fast twitch muscle fibers, cold shock therapy, and resilience training, all those sort of things to help manage my neurodiversity. And for me, exercise is a big one, especially for managing the Tourette's. A lot of people go to gym with the ADHD element. That's very helpful for them, just absolutely to blast some steam. But for me, the Tourette's element of my diagnosis, I'm also go whether I'm, doing my something a bit of stretch, it's more about just starting the day off, with a healthy habit so that kind of progresses throughout the morning. So like even this morning, even though I didn't have too long to go, I just went for a little bit, just got connected to body because most days I wake up, going to be disconnected and just going to realign and help to manage all the twitches and the weird quirks and things.
So does that mean doing something like yoga to have more mind-body awareness?
Yeah, so I've done yoga in the past. During COVID, when I had more downtime, I was doing yoga at least 3 days a week. After that, doing gym. So I was doing gym like 5 days a week, yoga 3 times, cold shock, sometimes over 5, could be morning and night. The more time I have for myself, the more I can apply those sort of things. But for me, as I've gotten busier and we've opened up to the yoga sort of fell apart and I'm more just focused those same principles into a lot of the movements that I do in the gym just to try and get more bang for your buck sort of thing. So normally my sessions are around an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, because I just do some roll up, I'll do some mobility, I'll do some bag work and I'll do some weights sort of thing. I might split that up throughout the day. But yeah, there's been stages where I kind of do it for 3 hours a day.
That's quite a good duration every day. So you do like the first half an hour of mobility work and warming up and then start lifting.
Yeah, pretty much. Because, with the Tourette's, where my body's got a mind of its own, I need to get that mind muscle connection before I really get started. Otherwise, I'm just going to flow in it. You're just not going at it with the best connection and the best self. So, yeah.
Mm. And
Like putting that
the,
aside.
the cat is showing how we must remain present.
Yes. And patient.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out. So, yeah, it's a big thing to me. And that's why everyone I support in my work, everyone I sort of speak to, I speak quite highly of what Jim's done for me and what sort of just getting a better connection to the body's done. Through my connection to the body, I said to the gym ever before I picked up a book on self-development. So, I think that's one thing leads to another, whether you start with a book and then practice it, or do the practice and then figure out you want to learn how to do it better, so you pick up a book, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I remember you were saying that potentially you mentioned biomechanics before, and last time you were saying that some of your clients, they've started trying to do squats and it was pretty challenging because their pronation was really bad and their feet were turned out. That's something that struck me when you mentioned that, because I feel like my biomechanics is probably not that great at times, especially with squats. Is that something that you've gone through yourself and you've realigned parts of your biomechanics as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, growing up, I barely even had sort of mind muscle connection, and I was quite overweight too. So, it was like I had big legs, so I used to walk. Not only did I have that foot displacement, but I also had a hip, and my legs were going out because I didn't want to chafing and stuff. So everyone used to say I walked with a staunch, and I never really understood it. But it's because of the way I was sort of, walking. I wasn't walking with my feet gripping. I've always been a big stomper sort of thing. So yeah, I focused on conscious walking. I take my shoes off as much as possible. Really focus on those sort of things. That also helps with the martial arts. So just going back to the little things and tuning all those little bits and pieces, and it's just quite funny how many personal trainers don't take in neurodiversity into the original sort of foundation of getting active. They just sort of stick with the general programs, but it's like you're just doing damage. It's like cause and effect, or chicken and the egg kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, it reminds me of, I read Peter Attia's book, Lifespan, and he talks about how he really screwed up his back by just lifting super heavy and lifting like 200 kilo deadlift, but without actually using his hamstrings or his quads. And so it was just all back. And then part of the journey for him was doing what you just said around doing it a lot more barefoot and trying to get better stability, so that it was possible then to go back to training in a proper way, but focusing not on the ego side of it of look how much I can lift, but more about look at how I'm creating a long-term foundation for my body so that as he ages, it's not going to be an issue for him. Was it hard fixing some of those biomechanical issues?
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yoga and some of the stuff I do for stretching hurt more than lifting some of the crazy weight I had. Similar to Peter, I've done lots of damage by trying to lift heavy too. I've always been quite strong. I've always had some mass on me. Even when I first got into the gym, I was probably lifting too heavy. I attempted doing 45 kilo incline presses, dumbbells when I was 21. Gym like a year or something. One of my biggest, like I did a 640 kilo legs press one time. I was sitting at about 100, maybe 105 kilos probably at the time. I'm about 90 now. So yeah, I had a bit more mass to me, but yeah, like there's no need for that. Like, I used to just do a normal 500 kilo pyramid sets. Like that was an average, like that's my weekly workout.
Wow.
Just really sort of, I guess, abused the body before I had those deeper understandings. And, we all start off kind of ego-like. We like the fact we can lift a lot. We find our exercises, we sort of stick to. But yeah, I stopped focusing on deadlifts myself when I heard Eddie Hall mention that, like, unless you're doing it for weightlifting competition, there's no point really. The risk versus reward isn't there. So, I focus more on things like rack squat, rack pulls and things like that. I focus more on where the core, because if you think about it from, say, like a martial arts perspective, a lot of it comes from the breath, comes from the core, in a bit of a sort of fluid motion. And really, if you're using the body correctly, you don't need to think about it like the body. Like if you think about shrugs, a lot of people just shrug, but you take in a good deep breath, you're kind of shrugging anyway. So why not just focus on the breath part of it rather than lifting part of it. Like, it's just where you're focusing, and if you focus on the breath, you'll get far more because that's where everyone gasses out. So yeah, I guess well, I'm saying like I couldn't run a marathon by any means. I'm not that sort of fit, but yeah, it's just by controlling the breath. Yeah, being connected.
Probably could if you wanted to. Might just hurt a lot.
Yeah, probably. But like that's what I'd lean on. That's where my key thing would be. It's just my better understanding of breath control. When I was doing my cold shock, I used to practice doing free diving and just holding my breath underwater and stuff. So yeah, no, that's a really important aspect to it. But similar to the feet thing, I'd actually say if I was to put a percentage on it, if I was to do a deadlift or a rack pull wearing just my shoes versus being barefoot, I'd lose 30%.
Really?
Yeah, 30.
I worry that I'm going to drop the weights on my feet because I did that once. I've just got home adjustable dumbbells, and there was a time where I had put too many plates on it, and then it fell off at one point, and it was just a little plate that hit my foot. It scared me now.
Yeah, you feel it.
Yeah.
I've had that happen plenty of times, especially if you try to put extra plates on machines and stuff, they bounce off. But yeah, so thinking of fundamentals and where that applies in the whole neurodiversity thing, not just the body connection, but I guess that's kind of what we're quite well known for, is the first principle thinking, looking at things a little bit differently. And that's why I really prompt a lot of people on the spectrum to get into some sort of martial art or something, because they're probably finally quite good at it. It's good for a multitude of things, even just the camaraderie. I haven't done too many class like sessions myself, but just spending enough time in the gym makes friends. I've done all sorts of different things. If I want to roll with someone, I don't need to go to jiu-jitsu. I just go hang with my mates, mats in the garage sort of thing. So it's like those connections across the board for the things that we need in our life. I've always just been, if I can do one thing for my clients, I just try getting them in the gym. Just get that started, especially when they're young. There's not too many things you can do to really push them, but things like gym where they want to feel strong and empowered and that sort of thing. Yeah, it's often quite a good stepping stone to better things.
What about sensory issues from the gym? Because I personally find it a very overstimulating place, at least the gyms that I've been to, where there tends to be loud music and bright lights and potentially people talking in the background.
Yeah, that's my gym. My gym is called Tourette, and they're known to be some of like the biggest gyms. So yeah, you kind of got that. It's like walking into a zoo, and at first I guess I was a lot more sort of noticeable to it, but now I've kind of become comfortable. I've been going to a gym on and off for like 8 years, so you can't become, and when you spend as much time as I did. But the thing is too, is like I'm actively trying to put myself in comfortability right now, in positions of my comfortability. Yeah, so yeah, there's a sense there where like, I could have a gym at home, but that pressure of feeling watched or feeling like they're judging me, when I went into gym, that was like, that's what scared me away, and I get kind of nervous. But now that's what I feel. Because I do some weird things, like just look sort of quirky. I try to do some Mr. Miyagi type stuff, be more connect. Whenever people are lifting weights, and then they're like, oh, they're judging you, and you just kind of like just do your thing, you do all right. I use it as a bit of fuel in a sense. Like, I've been watched now. I don't think they're going, oh, look at that guy. I think they're more now like going, oh, hey, look at that guy. So I don't know, your perspective changes. I just don't care about what they think as much anymore too.
You mentioned fast twitch fibers before. I was interested in that as well. Is there something around that you found helps with Tourette's or just in general?
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, that's kind of like the way I look at sort of what's happening in my body. Those fibers are extra responsive. My hands tremor sometimes. It's like, so it's like just being able to control that, I guess energy flow as well, because it kind of does feel like that. A lot of people with Tourette's will say if you're hyper-focused into something and control that energy and harness that energy, you get sort of mitigates anyway. It's a similar sort of thing. But I found sort of doing that and practicing, things like Wing Chun rather than just boxing, where it's a lot, like quick stuff, and you get used to, understanding and just your reflex and those sort of things are dramatically heightened, because, the Tourette's, it could be, well, I just drop stuff all the time. I'll be holding something and I could just, my hand could just go like that. I mean, it's mainly like a glass, so very rarely would that sort of thing happen, but like, I can just move and catch, or, my reflex is better. with the stroke element too, it's like there's general, it's not just like the fast twitch, but it's like I felt weird just holding a fist. I trained it for reflex, for just being out of control. I do a lot of stuff opposite of fast twitch muscle fibers where you do time and attention, negative sets, all those sort of things. So I just try and focus on those little tremor muscles. And when you're doing that slow, like yoga, and you feel those little muscles move, well, for me, those little muscles are the ones that are kind of like got them under their own in a sense. We control the main muscles and sort of the stuff. I think it's really helpful for people with Tourette's. I wouldn't know how to train it or talk to, like I don't know how to talk to it properly, but people often don't realize I have it unless you see my neck twitching or whatever else. But again, if I go to the gym and I, not slept well on those things, they will kick off anyway. And you've got that heightened energy. But yeah, it helps. But I don't know science. Kind of know. I've thought about actually look into why. Yeah, it seems to work quite well. But I think of other people like Tourette's boxers and martial arts and stuff, and I think it's an advantage. So yeah, I pumped people with Tourette's to get into a martial art. I think it actually, I can kick pretty fast. Like my fast twitch stuff's really good, but like, I've got full hits and stuff, but I could still kick above my head, kind of thing. But it's different things. Like where the bigger muscles are tight, there's all those elements.
Yeah, it sounds really fascinating. I wonder if there's some research around that in terms of being helpful for people. Because, yeah, I did some martial arts. I did Krav Maga a while ago, and I liked certain aspects of it. I guess the point about putting yourself in situations of discomfort, I did find that certain classes really brought that out in me, and just the social side of it and the teacher, I found that it was pushing me into a space where I felt a little bit too uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But other teachers, I felt that I was able to learn more, because it's a fine line for me that I can get to a point where I'm just feeling really agitated and scared in the class itself when we're doing like knife defense and things like that. And that is in some ways the point of it, that you're meant to get uncomfortable so that if it happens in real life, that you're ready for it and it doesn't come as a huge shock.
Yeah. And I think like, first, before I say that comment, it just made me think, didn't I suggest Krav Maga to you after we first met?
I'd already done it before we met.
I remember we were talking about martial arts. I was like, I probably mentioned Krav Maga because I think that was quite good just for people who want to feel a little bit empowered and stuff. I do know what you mean about those sort of environments. And if you're not used to being around, because like in certain gyms and certain environments, there's a certain energy of person. To be the kind of person who is a martial, like an expert in Krav Maga, they've probably done and seen some stuff. Yeah, I feel like just even like the exposure to those different energies can be quite intimidating. Because actively we wouldn't go, to someone with that. And sort of, I guess already a mess. Like, I don't know. If you feel like someone could probably kill you, you probably,
Yeah, that's how I felt.
So, and then you're in a room and you're like, oh, I'm paying this guy to like scam me, right? Yeah, so it's a different thing. But being around those sort of things, you understand that like people's energies, even though they are a heightened person, doesn't always mean you need to be as threatened by it. So, when you're in that martial arts sense, we often panic before anything's actually happened. And we set ourselves up a failure because we're now in that, fight mode rather than flight mode. And you're, just because you've overreacted to the energies and you're not fully reading on when they're actually going to be responsive. So, if you get used to how to, navigate, I guess, aggressive energies, that really helps in sort of, like we first said, if you know that you can defend yourself, and in the worst case, when we think about fear, at the end of the day, it's like our fears come around defense and being hurt or being injured or safety. If we know we're going to be safe, no matter what comes, it just gives an extra level of clarity. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's just, again, it's an abstract part of what the resilience you're going there to practice. But because those instructors aren't realizing that, I suppose, then that we need to get used to those energies as well. And like we're hypersensitive to that kind of, I guess, behavior. It might scare our community away or yeah, you're going to become pretty resilient if you get through it, sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, like something like within jiu-jitsu, to like Krav Maga, it's similar self-defense thing, maybe not as the Krav Maga is scary.
I'm actually more scared by BJJ because we sometimes did grappling in Krav Maga, and I wasn't very good at it. The first time that I tried sparring, the guy who was much better than me landed on my ankle and dislocated my ankle.
Oh, yeah.
I've never done grappling again after that.
Yeah, and yeah, I would have started on the ground a little bit more. It's a tricky thing because, yeah, why am I hurting myself? Why do I put myself through this?
Yeah. And I felt the same with sparring as well, that I saw the importance of it. And I see what you're saying there about almost the philosophy of it, that the goal is to get to the point where no matter what comes at me, that I can retain that calmness. But I also felt a bit like with deadlifts, with the risk versus reward. Some of the guys in the sparring class, they didn't really hold back, and I got quite a few hooks to the head, and I'd leave the class feeling not quite concussed, but with a headache at least. And I'm thinking, is this good for my brain?
Yeah. No, I hear that. I mean, for myself, I've always wanted to get into the ring more and try everything out. But having a stroke when I was younger, the aspect of getting hit in the head has always been front of mind, and why my mum never allowed it. But yeah, I guess that's where if you don't want to have that physical exposure, that's where things like cold shock and sauna
Yeah.
and time under tension training just get you used to reading through those uncomfortable moments and stuff, which is at first principle the same thing. I guess you don't even need to practice on people. You practice, like I've done a lot more bag work. I hit a bag when I was younger just because I was an angry kid. But over the years, I'm just like, that's where a lot of things come from. So I know I've probably been thrown 20,000 punches over the years. So, yeah, it's like it might not be, I need to have been in many, aggressive fighting situations. Yes, okay, having exposure to that helps. But at the very least, I know if something attacks me, my fast twitch response may be enough to sort of, like a good punch, a good thing, a good quick sort of burst of just all you've got, life or death aggression sort of thing, for harnessing that. Go, okay, if I don't want to be like a fighter, I've got to realize that if anything was ever going to happen, at its core, I need at least 3 to 5 minutes of just animal. It doesn't even need to be controlled chaos. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know 100 combinations. Bruce Lee says, I'm not scared of a guy who knows 1,000 different combinations. I'm scared of a person who's practiced the same combination 1,000 times. And I guess just having that in the back of your mind and like that, as a response thing, because that's why people in boxing do bag work anyway. It's that mind, muscle, and everything. I don't even think about it now. I just think about the breath. So yeah, it's just another way to think about getting that first principle of what you're trying to do there without the physical implications, I suppose.
Yeah, I like that idea in general of seeking situations where you're getting yourself close to the red line. I think for me, it's probably more about doing track work with running. I'm trying to do more resistance training, and I do a bit of time under tension work, but I find it a lot more intuitive for me to go to the track and do some intervals, and that same kind of experience of making sure that my form doesn't collapse, that I'm still running with good, the arms going in the right direction and the legs going towards the butt, things like that, even as I'm getting towards the 6th rep and it's starting to get really challenging. But I think that does flow through into other areas, reminding myself that even though it feels really hard in the moment, that I can keep going a bit longer.
Yeah. And that's what you need. Just need something to know, that like, I push through tough stuff. I can do this. So we did that today. So as long as you have that, everyone needs to just find their own exposure and way into that. But I think for our community, something along that there needs to be something there. So when I look at things from a holistic approach, we need people full support, like a full team around people from the get-go. Okay, we're going to get this person, out of their bedroom. Let's just think of stereotype teenagers right now. We're just going to, out of their dark bedrooms, outside into the gym. You're just going to find ways to incentivize that, make it fun. You find anything that starts out, okay, if it's running, Think, okay, running's their thing, but their foot placement's off, so that's going to be a bad thing overall. But they love it. Well, now you've got a reason for them to focus on their little fine tuning things. You pick up that, and then that's going to ricochet into another thing. And so, yeah, it's so important.
Definitely.
Foundational approach that I have to do something about it, but I don't. That people don't look at it. Like when we think about people getting on NDIS, and this be a full thing. Like, that's the people's health, gut microbiome, all the our community. I think needs to take a stronger approach on biohacking. If that is
Interesting. Tell me more about some of the biohacking you've done. Have you done those gut microbiome tests?
No, I haven't. I'm currently looking into doing a full. I'm sick of just going to the doctors and them getting I'm about to go through a full blood thing to find everything. I'm going to be really rigid in what I'm doing going forward. But I've researched a lot about different things. I've tried different supplements. I looked at what's not good for our bodies. Like the ADHD, the hyperactivity, things that my mum told me when I looked at it. Calm down on sugars, do this. I've done carnivore diets. I've tried different things, probiotics and just different things. I felt energies and how I feel. And no, I haven't done the full kit converter. But when we're putting as much money into people's foundational support and stuff through the healthcare system, it's like that upfront, knowing what we're actually doing from the very beginning, having a proper plan, a holistic and full view to plan.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. It's something that I've been looking at as well, because there's also, I guess, the DNA tests that show certain foods being more suitable or certain types of exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a book called Eat Right for Your Blood Type. And then we look at how microbiome and poor gut health and stuff affects the vagus nerve. And you learn a little bit about the vagus nerve, what you got to do to biohack that a little bit. And meditation is one that our community tries a lot and gets recommended a lot. That in some ways biohacking, the states. But yeah, just it's a big subject. So I guess without taking too much time, I'd just prompt listeners to we could go deep into the common factors of our diagnoses and how to biohack around them and look at them from a bit of a strengths-based approach. You don't just listen to your doctor. I don't mean to be rude, but it is at the end of the day. They're smart idiots, but they've almost killed me a couple of times by not listening. So what I'm trying to say is we know our bodies better than they do, unless they're going to spend an hour to actually learn about it with us, take a bit more of a detailed approach.
Yeah. We'll have to come back in a few months after we've both done our holistic assessment, because I'm planning on doing it soon too. There's a few things that I might discover from that. My wife did a DNA test recently to try and explain an issue with high B12, and that was quite enlightening in terms of her having a variant of the MTHFR gene, which means that she doesn't metabolize B12 and folate well. There may be things like that are affecting me that I haven't realized yet. And it probably, like you were saying, it flows through into everything else, that some of the things that are really hard, there may actually be a biological explanation for that.
Yeah.
It's not always a solution, but could be helpful to know.
Yeah, exactly. And similarly, when I was sort of 21, 22, and I just got into, I've been in the gym about a year. I was like, okay, I'm trying to be healthy. Let's look at what I'm like on the inside. I just did a basic blood test and similarly found that I have hemochromatosis.
Oh, wow.
I was just lucky the doctor that I was seeing happened to be the areas main person focused on hemochromatosis. So he had an extra eye for spotting it. But most people don't catch it till 50, 60. That just means my body doesn't dispose of iron. So if I don't let blood out and just drain that, filter that out of it can build iron pockets around your vital organs. And people go, well, does that mean you don't get tired? It's like, well, no, it's kind of the high iron. It's very similar to low iron. So yeah, there's little things. So you go, okay, at the end of the day, I could spend 20 years in the gym, but that one little thing about the iron could have killed me. So it's like, where's the priority? Find that out early, and then you can focus your whole thing, because it changes how you eat. Think about half the things people eat, like supplement-wise, to sort of bulk and stuff. It's all about added iron. So yeah, if you weren't careful of that, you wouldn't know. And
Yeah, 100%. That sounds really lucky that there was at least one good doctor that you've had encounters with.
yeah, well, the funny thing is, I've got diagnosed after a stroke when I was 5. I've had that many blood tests. I've had,
Mm.
you know, unless they're looking, they're not looking unless you're paying them to really look. If no one's looking.
So was it high in every previous blood test, but they just didn't really pay attention to it?
No, so it never really got looked at, but the disruptors looked at okay, balance between my iron and the serotonin, because what it really means is my body doesn't just not dispose of the iron that I consume, it creates further serotonin, which is your body's internal iron.
Yeah, before you were talking about there's teenagers in our community who are in their dark bedroom and maybe not interacting much with the world. And you suggested that they go to the gym. And you also said that the gym can be a good social outlet. So could we talk about that? What's it been like for you in terms of the social side, building friendships and relationships more broadly?
Well, I mean, gyms in themselves, like I wouldn't say they're the most social. But when you do things like, you hang around the bags, you're there, you see people every day. Like there's a certain element of just curiosity or just comfortability or just interaction that happens. We're all looking for community. So it might just even be a little bit of a hey, like how you doing, or like, good work sort of thing. And if you don't get that, it might just be a little bit, but that means something. Like that's why we stay in gym, whatever. Like it's those few people we're comfortable with. It's a weird thing. Cause like gyms and not many people want to be always bothered. Like some people, you learn to know when someone's like body language is open. People who want the interaction and where it helps you think of some, like understand some social cues a bit too. But then doing the other things in gym or more martial art based stuff or team sport based stuff, just anything like that. It's just a little exposure is what I'm saying. It's that little drip feed of hey, good work, man, or a little bit of a nod here and there. For some of my clients, they never even got that. They don't even get recognized. So to them, they're like, oh, yeah, now. So it could be a little thing. And the more that you get used to that, you could jump into different more team-based stuff, wherever your interest is, or you can join, an exclusive sports training thing. Like there's lots of things, but it's a really good way to start.
Mm. Yeah, and there might be something too about the way that the interaction happens, that it's not like you're sitting at a table facing each other, that even the angles, I find it easier to talk to someone if I'm next to them. So I really like going on walks with people and going on runs, and I guess similar thing in the gym, that it might be that someone's doing bench press over there and you're doing bicep curls and you're not necessarily facing each other. That might make it slightly easier as well. And there's a purpose to it. It's not random small talk, that you've got some kind of shared interest there.
Yeah, exactly. And, it could just be little things like just getting used to saying, hey, are you like how many sets you got left? Or, hey, can you give me a spot or something? Just getting to learn to ask for a little bit of something. Or people might ask you, you become familiar around people. You see the same people every day. They may ask that stuff of you, and that's a little exposure that mirrors, I guess, what I applied to my social enterprises, which is in a hospitality sense. That forced exposure through customer service, where you're going to have those little drip feeds of, hi, how are you? Whatever, and engage that. But it's, it's forced, but not in a forced way. You kind of allow it. And you're sort of open and looking for it in a way.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because I think about myself when I was a teenager, that I was really not great at socializing. I found it very hard to even talk a lot of the time in high school. And I got a job in a supermarket. Normally guys do stacking the shelves, but for some reason they put me as a checkout chick or a scan man. And I found that, I guess, in some ways helpful, but in other ways very confronting, because all of the constant socializing, and I found it hard because I didn't really know what else to say besides, hi, how are you? And if someone actually answered, then it was a little bit challenging, because it just felt, new people all the time. But I guess part of that also goes back to what we were saying at the beginning, that it's uncomfortable initially, but you build it up over time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like it. With my donor shop, no one ever likes the customer service part. It's not the part they want to focus on, but they know they're going to do it. It's a big
Yeah.
part. And when you got someone there to sort of help it to do better, but in your case, you probably just sort of left alone, you can do it. But yeah, it's tricky, but like you do it because you need the money. And at the end of the day, that's why we do most things. We need to work, we need to serve, we need to, interact with community. Doesn't matter how hard it is, we kind of point them. They're there every day. So it's a challenge has probably been a big part of why you can sit here with me now and talk quite comfortably. Myself, I was probably the opposite of you growing up, where I was always sort of just loud and outspoken, but I grew up in sort of a pretty loud household. So I think, I was taught to be quiet a lot and whatever, I would always speak, but generally the things I would say would get me in trouble. So, I got, because of the Tourette's, when I was younger, I had the swearing aspect of that. I got kicked out of my first assembly for screaming profanities, kicking teachers and fighting, just causing a scene. And then people don't, sounds like I could talk, but then people don't want you to hang around with that kid. So it's like, how to talk. So, I guess for myself, I spent a long time just studying people. Yeah, so you go, okay. Yeah, you sort of look, and I was always in the naughty corner, so you're always just watching, like, how are they behaving? What am I doing wrong? You're a bit picked up for it. So it gives a level of observation and it's just insight. And I think that helped too, because although I'm uncomfortable, I feel like I can talk to most people in a sense. Is when you understand them a little bit more.
And did you find it, I guess, easy from an early age to make friends and to retain friends?
I wouldn't say so, no. So, like, I mean, by the time I was in grade 4, I'd been to, I think, 3 schools. I remember having a friend before that. My first friends I can recall are the same 2 friends I have now, 20 years later, from grade 4. But even, still with this small community, 4-town religion, close, forced exposure thing again. But I don't have, since I moved to them, when year grade 4, that last school, I don't recall any friends. So, but now,
Because I
I talk to everyone, like stakeholder engagement, making friends with my thing. Like, through school, yes, but it wasn't until I kind of started interacting with people that I sort of opened up. So when I was always told to shut up, I was also, when I got into high school, I was then outspoken, got me in trouble sometimes, but I was also school, in the class captain. It sort of, people look at it a bit differently. And I guess I'm pretty good. I've been like very adaptable. I was always able to mold between the nerdy kind of computer kids and the jocks and stuff. I wasn't like either side of that, but I just sort of dabbled in between. And I guess I was a bit of a rifter and drifter and just like I said, I've always studied people. That's always been a big part of. If I went to like a university, I probably would have done like behavioral psychology or something, or I would have gone down that sort of justice and like fighting, like commercial, corporate, the business stuff, like similar thing, but like, I guess that's the foundation of all my stuff. Is just the people element to it.
and taking it with first principles. So
Yeah, whether I can make friends with them or like they even like me. Like, no, I don't know if everyone's going to like me. I know the trigger and like a lovable, hateable person. So I don't know. I just understand their perspective. Especially the thing that the rejection sensitivities, you got to get used to it. You got to balance those things.
Yeah, for sure. Do you find with the clients that you work with, is it easy for them, or do some of them have real challenges, and what advice do you give them?
Here's a weird thing, right? So like something I've learned is I'm very textful when I think about like growing up and like the literature and everything, but then like the challenges they have to be a bit broader than mine. But again, it's that lack of just forced exposure and stuff. So if I think back on some of the people I've mentored, there's one who was very shy, very timid, just kind of talk under his breath, big friendly giant, just sat at his own game all the time. So I thought I was just saying before. But then I was at his house, talking to the mum, wanting them to know the family, and I hear him online. It's a totally different, like, voice. So, something like that, okay, I got to draw that out. So then he became, like, he was the one I tested the Doughnuts with. He was the protege, this is what I'm talking to. And then he came out of his shell. And then he just got, like, he was always a shit stirrer and, like, would get banter, like he would online. And then that sort of started to come out in person. But then because that was coming out in my donut shop, where people know me, they know what I'm doing. They know that everyone's on the spectrum and like, we're working on something like that. They love it. Like they just laugh. and it's different thing. He's opened up, but then I have another one who, just still I've been with for the longest time, but he just struggles. He just doesn't know how to generally think or he just, it's getting to understand other people. When you don't even understand yourself and you get no real answers and you start to shut up, you're different, whatever, blah, 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 and then you expect people to understand how other people are and you've got to be interested in them and no one's really showing interest in you. Yeah, I don't want to say it leans on that self-absorption like stereotype of our community because I don't think we really are. But a lot of the struggle is like, what do I say? Well, I wouldn't. So I don't know. Like the key thing I'm trying to land on here is my thing generally comes out being curious. And some of my key things are across your youth group. So I guess the questions I'm asking, they're generally, or the conversations I'm trying to have, I'm trying to get more significance out of it. That with just my general curiosity and interest in people, or ability to be able to drift between different people. I've experienced a lot of different stories and perspectives and stuff, and I guess just comes down to again what makes me me, and I don't. It's always kind of been me, the diagnosis, the strengths, all the stuff, outspokenness, where I guess now I'm my voice. So I guess it's, it's all meant to be. You just got to learn to control that and know when to talk and when to shut up and stuff. But it's hard to say. I think it really, everyone's approach is different and the struggles are different for not even just the intellectual or, diagnostic reasons. It's like the programming in their minds. There's two different people I just mentioned, totally different IQ levels, like levels on the spectrum. One's level 2, one's level 1. But the challenges are different, still kind of the same. The approach is totally different. You got to find firstly, what is that incentive and stuff. So with one of them, you just need to get the environment where they can flourish themselves. Some people need the environment where they literally just see you do it and learn and see why it's important to show interest in people, some of the conversations and engagements you get. So for that client who struggles more, that's more of his reason of, I understand now. Because like he's seen me ask questions like, that's a really cool conversation, or like, that was really interesting, or whatever. And you go, that's why you're going to pay interest in people.
Do you have any thoughts on, there's some programs where it's trying to teach social skills, and do you think that works, or is it more just about you've just got to put yourself out there a lot and have a lot of practice? Or is it a combination of both?
I feel like coming from where I come from, all of that repetition is the
just keep punching that. Get the 20,000 punches in.
Like, look, if I had some proper training, sure. I don't remember even having real OT stuff after this stroke or anything. I don't remember. But coming into my entrepreneurial venture, I did always think about doing Toastmasters, and I know that, it's such a strong skill. I'd say I've got the gift of gab, but I wouldn't say that I'm a professional speaker by any means. And I guess how you'd train it is on where you're trying to go. So if you're trying to be a presenter, if you're trying to, do that, then yes, train and practice in that more traditional sense, like you would in acting school. But if you are trying to be whether you're a comedian or a politician or just a voice or just talk like a podcaster, that I don't think that traditional practice really works. You got to just do, especially for our community. Nothing teaches you more than just doing it.
Doing and reflecting and observing. Because I think that was part of the issue with the supermarket job for me, that I was constantly talking, but I didn't really want to be there. I didn't want to talk with people, and people didn't really want to talk with me. But if I had actually used it as an experiment and did some A/B testing, what if I open the conversation and ask, do you have a pet, or some random question like that, to see if I can break the ice? I think that would make it more fun and have some data to work with as well.
But we don't get taught the why. We're quite an early age. You need to know why before the reflection's ever going to come. So I guess when people know why they're trying to be a better speaker, how they choose to do that should be done entrepreneurially. Let them know what works for them and support it. Don't try and box it in. Don't try and frame it in a certain way. Just, if you help set up opportunities where they can test themselves, that's far more reflective and effective than being in a classroom, being like, no, do it again. No, like if you think about the rejection sensitivities and stuff like that, those settings are not for us.
Mm.
We can be sensitive to rejection, but if we know why we done wrong, like if we know our failures, we can accept that. Right? We don't want to do, I don't think any of our community wants to be babied. They will accept it if they're being in like whatever you go, okay, I see how that doesn't work. I want to get better at this.
Mm.
And it's from there, not from the outside.
Mm.
So yeah, I think it's somewhere in between. And it's again, why you need to take a holistic and individualized approach to everything.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So if we were just talking about Toastmasters, that's something that I've done and I did find it helpful. But like you were saying before, in terms of the different goals, that it was helpful for giving presentations, but less about the one-on-one interaction. But I'm curious about generally talking about resources. What are some resources that have been helpful for you in terms of books or philosophies or anything that you found useful over the years?
It's hard to really pinpoint quite a few. Yeah, the philosophies in the way that I look at things might be abstract. You know, if I've talked to a few books that, let's say, first principally changed sort of my other thought, Limitless by Jim Quick, Learning How to Learn, or learning or practicing the art of meta learning, it's called. Sun Tzu, The Art of War.
Huh.
If you philosophically apply some of that to, say, the battlegrounds of life and stuff, you can get some pretty good philosophies and lessons there. Well, I mean, working on my bookshelf, I've got some Jordan Peterson, Finding Your Purpose, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's just all things. That's why I think it's kind of hard. I listen to a lot of audio books, a lot of stuff. It is all self-development based. It's in that, like everyone, you could pick up that same book and get a different philosophical meaning than I would. So yeah, it's, I don't know if I call The Art of War a resource, as something your traditional answer, but a resource, Maslow's hierarchy is something I speak to and think about a lot, but people don't really think about in their approach to trying to, get into work in my work frame thinking. They don't think about how that applies and how, unless you really can manage all those elements of the Maslow's hierarchy, that you're always going to be set up to some sort of, failure in a sense, because you can't balance it all. You need to do that. So I guess, psychological frameworks like that, or philosophical ones, or strategic based things, and when I talk about those resources, I can just reflect that back to some of my kids' strengths report. That's another one. Apps. I know there's motion helps people. Sensory stuff I've never really been too big on, to be honest with you. I mean, Legos. I used to play things like Legos and video games and stuff like that for sensory stuff. But right now, I just haven't annoying little kind of all I use now. But yeah, it's very hard. Yeah, I've just
Got a grip strength trainer.
I use that. I probably use them more than anything actually. I've also got like a rubber ring thing that you squeeze. So, but I do that because that helps with, there's more to that, right? So me doing this, sure, it's a bit of a fidget, but using those strength trainers, I'm getting a secondary thing from, I guess they're generally how, like that was my sensory tourist. G is sensory tourist for me.
Yep. And it's probably quite a good one in that it engages many parts of your body as well.
And I don't know if you'll ever see a lot of data, but just when I talk about those two books, The Art of War and Maslow's Hierarchy, I've actually started drafting up a bit of a self-development book. Actually with some others, and just like how to think about those two from a bit of a philosophical approach. So maybe one day you'll get to see what I mean by that little rant I just had there, when you actually got some resources. But
yeah, we'll definitely have you back when the book is ready.
That would be a resource, and that's a resource in itself.
Writing, yeah. I found the same thing. Getting my own ideas out on paper helps me to understand it better.
Yeah. And that helps with being a speaker too. Just understanding words as weapons, as your tools and what you bring to the battleground. So yeah, I've got a dictionary, thesauruses. I never even looked at them in school, and I went out and brought one. So I was like, okay, I need weapons. That's how I look at words in a way, and when I ran with my curiosities around learning to use them better.
Amazing. Well, it's been a really fun conversation.
Thank you. Probably I might have run a little bit left in center there with the cat destruction and half-man stuff, but I did It has gone missing. I'm really going to have to go find it now.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming on.
I'd be more than happy to do this again. It's always a pleasure talking to yourself. And
Yeah. Likewise. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Focus and Chill podcast. To listen to other episodes, jump onto podcast.focusbear.io. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, or you know someone who'd be a good fit, email us at team@focusbear.io. Otherwise, stay focused, stay chilled, and peace out.